Hello everybody, welcome to another edition of the series How Chess Masters Think. In the previous video, we had seen the importance of identifying the zone of action, the exact weakness in the opponent's camp. Once we have identified the weakness in the opponent's camp, we concentrate all our resources and attack on that weakness. In this edition, today we are going to see a game which was played by a genius, an American genius who was not a world champion because world championship matches officially had not begun during his reign, but he was undoubtedly the strongest player of his time. His name is Paul Morphy, and in this game he was playing against Mauryan, his opponent, who was considerably weaker than him. Uh, and this game was played, as you can see, in New Orleans in the USA in 1857. So before starting the game or explaining the game, I would like to tell the viewers that the game started without Morphy having the Queen's Knight. So Morphy was playing knight odds in this game, and it was a practice in those days for a strong player to sometimes play against opponents with less material and challenge the players. So here in this scenario, Morphy, one knight less, has to play very accurately to win. Otherwise, if it does not create winning chances immediately, there is a possibility he will lose in the end game with one knight less. Looking at the position, it is white to play after ninth move. If the bishop moves, black had just played c6, attacking the bishop. If the bishop moves, the d4 pawn would be lost. So white had to make the best possible move here to continue his attack. Now, as in the previous video, before starting to think, Morphy had to identify the exact weakness or zone of action for his pieces. Looking at the position carefully, you might notice that this f4 pawn, well, I would like to show you where white's pieces can very easily uh, be transferred to. This f line is opened. The f4 pawn is weak, and based on this, this f7 square looks vulnerable. And look at the position carefully. Black has not yet brought out any of his pieces. So white has development advantage despite being one knight less. He still commands superiority in piece play because more pieces are attacking than defending. So Morphy played a stunning move, bishop takes f7 check. He sacrifices his bishop, and let's not forget that he started the game one knight less. So after black recaptures, he is two pieces down. But by identifying the weakness or the real zone of action, white had found out that it is this area of the board where most of the pieces have to be brought in. Like yesterday, it's once again a vulnerable king, and white's ability to come very fast on that area, to approach very fast that area of the board where the opponent is weak. So normally, while identifying weakness, we have to take into account how fast our pieces can reach the opponent's weakness, and that is the zone of action for white. Now here white played another very nice move. He has an option to capture bishop f4, to castle, to even capture queen f4 and deliver a check. But for most of the cases, black will simply defend by putting his queen here and bringing most of the pieces guarding the square, and even the king can escape to the queen side if necessary. Here white played a very nice move, that is queen h5 check. First of all, it doesn't allow the queen to cover the check, so black cannot bring his pieces to defend, and also, well, the king cannot escape to the queen side because legally you can't play king e8. Black played king g7 and white played bishop takes f4. Now the idea is to play this check and attack by doubling the rook or bringing the rooks on the open file near the zone of action. Notice all the pieces would be lined up against the weak squares which fall into the exact zone of action. Black played bishop e7. And why did he play bishop e7? Well, he had to cover f6. He's bringing out his pieces and preparing for future bishop f6 in case white checks. Of course, it's worth paying notice that queen d4 is a pawn which is hanging. I mean, white doesn't have any support. But if taken at once, white will simply play bishop e5 check with the support of the queen, and it will attack the queen and the king simultaneously. So black will lose a queen if he captures queen d4. He plays bishop e7 and white castles. Well, the idea of castling is very normal. He brings a rook, an additional rook, into the so-called zone in action, which I am repeating every time. But it does allow black to capture d4 with a check. White doesn't mind. He simply moves aside, and now he is threatening this deadly check, attacking the queen and the king simultaneously. Black moves away from the square and he captures the second pawn. But now, as we see, the absence of e pawn for white has opened the e file for the rook as well. So white brings another rook into play, attacking the black queen. Okay, pay attention to the fact that at this moment, white is, well, 3 pieces down. So black has 4 minor pieces, 1 knight, 2 bishops, 2 knights and 2 bishops. White has only 1 bishop and both sides have rook. So despite being so much behind in material, you can observe that all white's pieces are into action, whereas black's rooks, knights and so many pieces have still not developed. So no wonder that despite having an overwhelming advantage in development, white manages to find a very beautiful win and combination from here. Black plays queen g6, and I would like all of you to pause the video here, take some time out and find a win for white. How did the brilliant Paul Morphy finish the game from here? Well, Morphy played a brilliant move. He kept on sacrificing material. He started the game a knight down, and now he gave up his exchange once again. If black recaptured the rook, so black would be Well, almost everything ahead in material. White would play another very nice move, and that is bishop h6 check, another sacrifice. This move gives black the option of playing king to g8, allowing rook f8 checkmate, or black can capture the bishop with the queen, allowing queen f7 checkmate. And this is a very visual checkmate. It doesn't look like it has been played in a real game. It seems as if it's simply a composition. Someone has simply put the pieces, designed the pieces in such a way that we have a checkmate. Look at the position. White has only one queen and rook. Black has, apart from the queen and rook, two knights, one bishop and one rook. So much material advantage. But it's just coordination of the pieces and inability of the king to escape because of his own pieces which are stopping king's escape. In language of chess tactics, this is called epaulettement. So it was a brilliant sequence which white saw, and even black saw through it and opted for king f8, which was no better, because even here white has met in 3 moves. You can pause the video once again and find out how white finished the game. Well, white played bishop d6, and here we see an example of discovered check. The bishop was covering the file. Once the bishop uncovers the file, we call it in language of chess discovered attack, and here in this case it is discovered check. Black moves, well, knight f6. This is the only way to stop the check. And here the final combination, that is white removes the queen to open the diagonal for his queen, and he puts the queen on e8 and checkmates black. So friends, this was a very easy game which we saw. It was a one-sided game, but do not forget that Morphy would not have played so well had he not focused his forces exactly on the weakness of the opponent. Had he not sacrificed on f7, and had he not brought out the pieces on f line and his bishop and queen, had he not coordinated, he would not have been able to finish the game in style. So this game once again shows the importance of zone of action. So before summing up, I would like to say that it is not always easy to find the zone of action or weakness in opponent's position. In the following videos, we shall find out cases where the weakness is not obvious, the zone of action is not obvious, and one side has to create a zone of action, identify and then attack. Bringing the lessons of chess into real life, we all know that all of us are bombarded with information. We have so many friends, we have so many foes, we know so many people, there are so many incidents, there are so many places, everything is in our mind. But a successful man, like a successful chess player, he chooses only the relevant information, only the most important information, and uses them in life. For example, a famous musician, while playing music or preparing for a musical show, would not recall or remember the mathematics lessons which he had learned in primary classes. So he only focuses on information which he needs and he succeeds. In the same way, in chess, you have so many options, but focus only on zone of action, then you can get success. So that's all for today. I hope you like my videos, and for the following videos, keep a watch on this YouTube channel, and you can message me if you wish to have special videos on some subject. So that's all for today. Thanks for watching. Bye.